Hey guys, welcome to the Rock and Road Show. I told you I would get back with you as soon as I could and talk to you about Hummer H2 leaks. Because it's taken me several years to get these ironed out because I went to freaking mail mechanics over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And I paid them over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And they freaking lied to me and didn't do the job. Or they played games and charged me money for analysis. After I told them I don't need an analysis, I need the lights to stop leaking. I need the interior to stop leaking. It's pretty simple. You apply yourself. You put your hands on the vehicle. You take things apart. You examine it. That's an analysis. Standing there talking to me, that's not analysis. No, I've already done that. I don't pay for lawyers and whores. I don't pay for analysis. I've done the analysis. When I tell you a switch is busted and it's got to get broken and don't take it off a certain way, when I tell you that it's leaking down inside my dash and everything inside my dash is completely rusty and there's water on my feet, I don't need an analysis. I need it fixed. And lying to me about it and not fixing it, like John Hadley in Killeen, Texas, that's not it. So, I'm showing you this fuse box because this isn't all of it. I got my little extras in there right now, and I've got a pad in there to keep extra moisture from getting in this way and getting it wet. I haven't been able to pull it out alone by myself yet. I am 64 years old with cancer. In my lungs and a heart problem. No AC, outside in the heat of Texas and the flood and the mud and the raining and the raining and the raining and the mud and the flood. Trying to work on the truck alone by myself. Still have not been able to find a willing participant male mechanic for the leaks, and now I think I fixed them myself. So I'm going to take you to the whole truck. The dash did leak. One of the main reasons why is because the pieces of shit Shelby and Sean Turner of Fort Hood, Texas, had blown the engine in this truck and dumped it into the Gulf Ocean, which rotted out the seal that went around the windshield. So the windshield has to come apart with these plastic pieces here, and you get down in, this plastic piece down in here does come out also. You might be able to wiggle it out with your fingers carefully. You can get replacements online on eBay because I've seen them. They weren't that expensive. You have to go up around the top and the whole entire windshield and seal it with rubber sealant to keep it from leaking down inside your dash. That's not the only place where and how it leaks down inside the dash. The plastic piece that you take off around the windshield is real easy breezy. There's 2 screws up inside these rubber trims, and you just, oh, it's falling off again. Yep, that's a Hummer thing for the trim to fall off constantly. You can take a little spray glue, just spray it a little bit on there, not a lot. You don't need to meth it down, you just a little bit. Common sense. If the door seals are not friggin' perfect, they're also going to leak moisture into your car. When I got the truck from the shit Turners at Fort Hood, Texas, they had done something with this truck with boots on and oxygen tanks. So every single seal in the entire freaking truck was ripped to shreds. Some of them still are because I haven't been able to find more, or I wasn't going to pay $100 a piece. I just freaking wasn't. I just can't. And some of it's extremely hard to replace because it's a really weird shape, extra large, extra big, and they're just really hard for me to get. I've had to try to repair them. Yeah, one of my tricks is getting household trim. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm $61,000 in debt now on this truck, and it's still not able to get out of the county where I bought it and get it to freak home to the hospital and to my stuff that belongs to me where I live and I pay for. So I had to get household trim and go around the rubber seals I can't get replaced because I can't find them. Yep, or I can't pay $100 a piece for them. Yeah, I kid you not. This is the pin type. If it wasn't the stupid little pin type on these doors, I had them done a long time ago. I replaced this piece up here with something that I found online. It was really easy. It wasn't too complicated because I forget if they call this a U shape or not. I don't remember. But that was not complicated. But if any of those seams, any of those rubbers are not freaking perfect, the truck leaks. I even went an extra step and I bought extra trim. I just cleaned it so it's a little loose. And I put extra trims. I forget what they call this. I think they call this a U trim. It's a little loose. I've been cleaning and been trying to get through the dirt. So I put a little extra of these extra metal, I think they call them U trim for your doors, for the edging. U trim door edging. I think that's it. And that helped a lot. I also did a little bit right in the, there's a crack here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Here's a piece. I did a piece crack right in here too, because too much water in here was a really big problem, and leaves and sticks and everything else were falling down in there. Yes, they were. And I even did a little extra thing on the inside of the door. I'm going to show you real quick. With my favorite, we talked about this before in another show. And what's in there? Buggy poo. Okay, buggy poo, you got to go. That's why I put these. This is insulation, goes up to 400 degrees. You get it, and you put it usually in your household gutter trim. That's what that is. I cut it with scissors. I stick them down in there and keep the extra weird, huge pieces of crap out of there. All right, so, okay, leaking. Leak. I personally think, this is as clean as I got it right now with all the flooding we've had in Texas, and people's bodies are missing and people are dead. Yeah, not too far from where I'm at. And it could have been us last night. Yeah, I personally think that right down in there, when I put my insulation in there also, was getting way too much moisture. It was leaking into the body frame. Yeah, I kid you not. All right, so around the windshield, and I did pull the cowl, and I showed you a show on that cowl. I also pulled that and put my favorite trim, this trim here at the bottom of the cowl, going the whole way across. That kept, by the way, that kept a whole lot of extra moisture and leaves and mice and pine needles and sticks and whatever crap. It did keep it out of the cowl. It did, since I've done that show and showed you that show. Yeah. All right. Leaky. When you get one of these Hummers, you want to check. See how nice this trim is? Look how tight that is. It's nice. Nice. It keeps everything from leaking. These lights up on top, I did drill a couple of extra holes to make sure they can drain, because my backlight idea, since I've done my last film I showed you guys, it did work. It did. If you're getting wet floors on the inside of your Hummer, a lot of the times, like I just said, was the door trim going around the door, and I couldn't get any more of it. So, yep. So I just put household trim, because I don't have $100 a piece per door. I just don't. I'm already $61,000 in debt. Part of the problem was also these on here, these inner side here, these guys, they did a really stupid idea. These are some type of a freaking tube. And if the water somehow was some kind of, I don't know, funky, I don't know, liberal magic of some sort with pink hair, if this gets clogged up, that water is going to just go everywhere inside your truck. It's not going to go dripping down where they had designed for it to go. And we're talking about an outdoor vehicle, a truck. Of course it's going to get a leaf on it, or a twig or a stick. Of course it is. I had wet floors on my passenger side front for forever, since I pretty much owned the truck. And it was that reason right up there, these being filled with crap, the door trims being ruined, and I don't know if you know about this or not, but these trims here can be taken down. They're real easy to loosen up and take down. I'm going to show you that here real quick also. And you can clean. You don't have to do like some guys have shown where they spent hours and all one day probably smoking some kind of glass pipe, taking the whole entire rack trims off all day long and redoing them all day long. That's great. But I couldn't. I've got an 800-pound hunter's rack up on top. So the only way for me to get that hunter's rack up on top to release from the Hummer rack would probably be to get about 6 bottle jacks, loosen it up, and then jack it up on 2x4s so you wouldn't come through the roof. Yeah. So that wasn't going to happen for me. And it's quicker, faster, easier. Just loosen your trim once in a while. Let the crap out, just clean it up. I think they designed it that way on purpose. I'll bet you that is one thing they did come up with, instead of a bunch of other stupid crap. All right, floor. I am still soaked to the bone. I have to hire a mechanic to help me get the whole entire back seat out and the front seat out, and we have to tear the padding out of the truck. I don't know why they call these trucks waterproof. It is the leakiest thing I've ever driven in my entire lifetime. I have been soaked to the bone in this truck, like sitting in a hot tub or a shower stall since I've had it. I mean soaked to the bone. Daily, weekly, monthly. This used to completely fill up with water. I showed you on another film, like a pond. You could put fish in there and just live with your fish in your truck. The padding underneath is the wrong type. I've taken a sample piece out and I put it outside for days in the Texas sun and the heat. It never dried out. At all. It never dried out. It's a sponge. It's not padding. It's not waterproof. It's a sponge. And it's been stinking for months. But I'm 5'3". I'm not that big. I'm very weak and tired all the freaking time. I can't pull the back seat out alone by myself, or the front seat out alone by myself, and get them out the door alone by myself. I cannot. So it's going to be some kind of miracle to find a male that calls himself a mechanic for money that he decides upon to get him to do that. It's going to be like pulling teeth, like everything else I have to do with them. Because this padding is soaked, it stinks, it's going to have to come out. Period. I've got some other stuff I can put in there instead. The first layer of carpeting's pretty nice. It's actually rubberized and weatherized and all that stuff. It's pretty cool, but that padding, and it's horrible, and it's getting really bad. It's getting really, really bad. It's got to come out. That leaked, believe it or not, down the stopes, or down these columns, they call them, which I talked to you about on another show. There's several columns that help keep the ceiling pushed up, and if you look here, you'll see tons of leaks. Yeah, tons and tons and tons. I had another problem. The pieces of shit dingbats that sold me the truck were completely missing the trim here, which I can't even get. I did see some one time a long time ago, $100 a piece, or one piece of trim. That didn't happen. That's not gonna happen. That's not happening. I don't have $100 for one little tiny piece. So I built my own, and when I built my own, by the way, I found other stuff similar, and I was able to keep the water out with similar. I had to figure out a different type and different design, and then kind of try it out. All right, so my rear lights up here with the holes is working. The water is staying out, and I took that some strip of trim off. You can kind of see where I have a halfway point. There's some there and there's some not there. And it drained and dripped all day long today after these huge killer storms in Texas. It is working. It's working great. Water was leaking into the back of the truck like a huge swamp. Massively huge amounts of water were leaking. I mean, massively huge amounts. And down into the spare cigar lighter thingy, and down the rear stopes in here was also leaking, all the way down the carpet and in the wiring. since I've had the truck. Stained the snot out of the ceiling and helped rot it out. Yeah. And I suspect that if you pull this plastic piece around the outside, it's pretty decorative. That's probably another wiggle and pop. Like I was telling you, just wiggle it and pop it. You could probably reach up in and touch and get to your rear cab. It's a marker light, a red marker light on the top of the truck. So I'll bet you could pull this down, play games and pull this down, and reach right up in there and plug that freaking grommet up without taking those racks down. You might be able to do that. That's what I'm thinking. For me, I had to do other stuff. I put more door trim in again because I found out that the trim that they put in the back of the Hummer, unless it's been changed before and it's not the original standard stuff, wasn't high enough. It needs to stick out a lot more. It needs to be about a 3-inch trim sticking out. Otherwise, water comes down and it starts to drip and drain from those rear lights and the racks up on top, and it just runs right back into the truck. You're like, oh man, why bother? Who designed this? What the heck? And for me, I have a dog, and there's me and the dog, and we have to camp and stuff, so I needed this back open so we get some danged air. Now, I use my favorite trim again. See my little piece of trim right there? That's my favorite snuff in the whole world. I love that stuff. I tried an experimental piece there to see if I could direct the water away from running in towards the too narrow of the rear deck direct rubber trim, and I think it's working a little bit, which is better than nothing. You know, when you got when you got problems, something sometimes is better than nothing. With all the huge amounts of rains we had here in Texas, I am here to say, ready? We need a golf clap. Yay! Guess what? I didn't get a drip of water in my truck at all. And I'm not a man with a penis. And I paid them for years, and begged more of them to help me get the water leaks out of the truck. And the piece of shit John Hadley that told me that he did, and we found out he didn't recently, and I took care of it. I can tell you that stripping these pieces of plastic trim off out of there and drilling a couple of holes. I watched it in the horrendous rain that came down. They worked great. That water came out of there, not into my truck. First time in years, I did it. Not the men I paid by the lists. There were lists. I owe $61,000 in this county. I spent it in this county and don't own a house here. Yeah. So, it leaked and ran down today, every place it was supposed to. I don't know if you have a Hummer that's been messed with in the back. I also want to tell you that the people who did the rear bumper for this Hummer, it's about a $4,000 specialty rear bumper. They kind of did a clowny ass job. They're out of Dallas. I think they're called a Star 6 or 6 Star, something stupid like that. They didn't do any trim work at all. Nothing. I put the extra rubber in, and I had to use different sizes, different types, because they didn't bother to do the bumper straight. Yeah, it's a different size on both sides. They didn't put anything in here at all. I found out cold wind and dirt was coming up into the back box cab, including water once in a great while and mud. That shizzle had to stop. I had to fix that. The trim back here has to be perfect. It goes the whole way around so it's not leaking. And I used a lot of rubber seal coating. It's the one I'm using today. They've changed the formula a couple times to spray this stuff in the box at the store. Make sure you don't get the brown stuff if you like black, because they got one that's brown and it kind of snucks if you ask me. The lights is working and the rubber's working, and we are freaking dry for the first time in years. I did have water coming down through the entire dash. I've had to pull half the dash out alone by myself and start rebuying and replacing it one piece at a time. That's cost me a freaking fortune because these males would not apply themselves and just help me find out where the water was leaking in and get paid and help me just get it fixed. So I replaced quite a bit of the dash, except for that fuse box. It's rusty, and I think that's why I've got whole other sections not functioning because of that. That's what I think. That's my opinion, and I'm too tired to replace it because I've got problems with the sunroof not opening and shutting. Yeah, because men have screwed that up too. And I've paid them for help on that too. And they have still screwed stuff up and not done what I paid them to do. They played games and did other weird stuff and charged me for assessing. I need to assess. There's nothing to assess. I already know what's wrong. I've already done the work. I'm too poor for more assessments. Stop playing games. Stop robbing me and ripping me off. There's not much more. So that's about it for the leaks. I don't think I missed anything on this truck. If you get a Hummer H2, pull your coach steps up, see if you've had water or rust down in there. The only other tricky poo, I think these can get worn. I think water can beat hard enough to get down in there and start getting rusty down in there. And I saw them reasonable not that long ago. That's someplace on the list in my head. I'm tired and exhausted. This is it for today. Bye, guys. Have a great day.